Jenny. Oh no. Jenny, and we are live. Hello, Jenny. How's it going?
Hello. Good, Han. How are you? Long time no see. Years no see.
Uh, long time no see. I mean, me knowing a little bit where you're tuning in from right now, it's so fascinating. It's like every single time I jump on a podcast with someone, for some reason they're exactly in that moment when I'm talking to them somewhere on the other side of the world, right? I had on the very first interview episode, I had Daniel tuning in from Los Angeles, Hollywood. Now I have like some people tuning in from Luxembourg, and now Jenny, I have you. And I guess where you're at right now is not winter as we are experiencing here right now. So it seems like you're somewhere in a place where it's warm. You're somewhere in a place where it's sunny. And yeah, where are you tuning in from right now? Where are you tuning in from right
In
now, Jenny?
Bali, Indonesia.
Wow, that's incredible.
Oh,
I
sorry,
mean,
the
Jenny,
noise.
you
I'm
and
in
me.
Bali, Indonesia. Yeah.
Okay, that's great. I mean, we go back already a couple of years, right? We know each other now for, I suppose, like 6 years, 6 years as well, where we go back in the making. I mean, our friendship started
Yeah.
out, I think, in 2016, 2017. Um, back back in the times when we were working together for a really cool time, actually, in our previous business that we did together, somewhere where I visited you a couple of times in Barcelona, Spain, where you are originally from, right? Um, Jenny, I mean, giving a little introduction. First of all, you're the first woman on this podcast, which I really love. Second of all, you're a person to me that is very dear to my heart, and someone that,
Uh,
we have been through, for the time that we have spent together, we have been through like a big learning curve and like a path of growth that now, looking forward, I would say 2-3 years that we didn't have any contact, we both elevated in our own way through our own means and into our kind of worlds that we have created ourselves. Um, with what I know of you, could you give the audience, could you give a little introduction to yourself, who you are, and what you're doing in life, and what brought you to Bali right now?
yeah, of course. Uh, just doing some notes here. The audio is a bit slow because, as I said, I'm in Bali, so connection here is a bit on and off.
Hmm.
But yeah, well, basically, we met when I was still in Barcelona, Spain, because I'm originally from there. But then I moved to London, UK, and I lived there for the past 5 years. I'm still based there, but then life took a 360 turn, literally, like full circle. Like I met the love of my life, literally, on LinkedIn. He was my competitor, and then we traveled to Amsterdam, we traveled to Paris, and then we just decided to, move to the other side of the world. And it's been the best decision I've made, apart from moving to London, just because you also need an environment where you thrive, where you meet people. And because I have a special talent that every time that I'm feeling comfortable, complacent, I just move countries to challenge me again. So yeah, that's really why I'm in Bali.
That's incredible. So why don't you? I mean, you've been from a place where it's very sunny over to a place where it's very rainy, back to a place where it's super sunny. I think that's definitely an evolution, which is very nice to see
Yeah.
because you had the best of both worlds. I remember coming to visit you in Barcelona a couple of times per year. Was probably the best time that I had. In my network marketing career, because every time I
Mm.
went there, I knew, hey, it's going to be sunny. Hey, there's going to be beach. Hey, there's going to be like great times to spend. Um, and every time I left to London to meet my other business partners, I was like, I wish I could go back to Barcelona. So that is definitely a thing. Jenny, tell me a little bit. Tell us a little bit about, because I've mentioned briefly already that you are a woman empowerment entrepreneur, right? I was saying, Jenny, um, I've mentioned briefly already a little bit about yourself, that you have been working in the digital space for quite a while now, right? You are working in the woman empowerment space. You are a coach. You are a digital marketer at heart. Tell us a little bit about what you have been working on and what you have been doing in the past years, and what brought you to Bali itself. What kind of like what is the thing? What is the thing that you are currently standing for in your life?
Yeah. Oh, that's such a good question. This is going to be a really fun video. I've been in the digital marketing space since 2016. We actually made
Mhm.
parts of it, right? And I started as freelance. I was a ghostwriter, then I went into copywriting. Then I started my agency, Facebook advertising, when I moved to London. And I just started getting inquiries for coaching at the time about how to get clients for LinkedIn, because that's a main channel that I used. Um, and I just coached people for free. I was like, okay, I'm not a coach. And it was that time that everyone was switching from agency to coaching, and I'm like, I'm just not a coach. But then turns out that it has such a massive impact on the people that I coached, and I really loved it. So in 2022, I decided to, well, late 2021, I decided to do full switch to coaching, but I was still doing very like LinkedIn coaching, corporate consulting, and it was very unaligned with what I was doing. I was doing great money, not gonna lie, but at the end of the day, you also need to be happy with what you're doing, especially if it's your business that you're doing. So early this year has been interesting. It has been a movie. Earlier this year, after some experiences, I decided to bury my business to the ground. I was like, I had some bad experiences going on with clients, and I was like, am I really happy with what I'm doing? No, like I am not as aligned. Sales also stagnated, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna burn this. No matter how much money I'm making, I'm just gonna burn it and rebuild it. And that's how Women of Impact was born, and that's why I just want to coach women and live the life they want to live through their online business, because I feel like I'm living proof of that. And then Bali came into a picture because I met my partner, and he was like, do you want to go to Bali? I was like, yes. I want warm weather in winter. I want a place where I can thrive, where I feel free. And I don't know what it is about Bali. You just have this healing nature, and you just thrive
Mhm.
here. And that's what I've been doing.
100%. I can agree with you because I went to skip the winter. I think it's called skipping the depression winter, right? Because Europe is quite tough from time to
Yes.
time, depending upon where you are. I actually went to with a couple of friends in 2020, end of 2022 to 2023, we actually went for 3 months to Thailand, and we skipped the Luxembourgish winter per se. And I think it was the best thing that ever happened, because whenever you come back and people get out of their holes, out of their monk modes, because it's just been like really bad weather here, you just get back tanned, you get back with a vitamin D overdose, you just get back happy. So that's actually like a really, really cool thing that I love about being able to just be independent and be able to like kind of be this digital nomad that works from everywhere around, right? But that's amazing, Jenny. That's amazing to hear that what you kind of like the development that you've been through. You know, as on this podcast, what I love doing is I love getting into people's stories, because I'm a storyteller at heart, right? And your story has definitely been one that has been very close to my heart, because I've been there when you said that you wanted to go to the UK, you wanted to leave Barcelona, and like seeing and watching you develop over the last years has been like a really, really impressive moment to kind of like witness. And on this podcast, we like to talk about stories, but we like to talk about the meaning and the kind of challenges, the path behind the story that has kind of turned you into the person that you are. So throughout your career, um, you've probably encountered multiple moments, right, where you had doubts, where you had uncertainty of where you wanted to go. You had maybe maybe even, I mean, maybe even you had thoughts of quitting. Um, how did you overcome these periods? How did you overcome these periods, and what did you learn from them along the way? Because eventually they brought you where you are.
Yeah, that's a good question. I feel like before I answered that question, it doesn't matter what level of growth you're experiencing in your business. You will always have that little voice as in like, am I doing enough? Is this good enough? Am I doing the right thing? Um,
Mhm,
and for me, like it hasn't been a linear path. Like I struggle a lot with making it work. Struggle a lot also finding my feet into the online space. Because then I realized like, okay, like you're working 12 hours a day, 16-hour days just to get it off the ground. And then you, at least for me, I feel like I got sucked into building a business, not the business I wanted to build, but the business I was told to build. And I feel like also
mm,
because I needed money to make it and to survive, because I was no going back to Barcelona. I was like, what is the thing that's not bringing me money? It's beginning when I started. So I had a lot of massive downs, massive highs. Like I had months where my income stagnated. I had months where my income went like burned to ground, and I had months where I was like making 20,000, and it was never like I never had the feeling like I made it, and I don't think I will ever have that feeling that of I made it, because every time you want to go to next level of impact, so I don't feel like we will never get to I've made a point. But for me, I
mhm,
think now in hindsight, I feel like for the darkest moments have struck me
mhm,
the most, because I don't think I would even be here in this podcast or in Bali if it wouldn't have been for that, because I probably would have just kept going, building something I'm not truly passionate about building, instead of like
mhm,
just like putting a hard stop on me, like, okay, is this a success? Is this what you really want to do? Does this align with the life you want to build?
mhm,
Um, and I just went from there.
mhm,
And there were some days that I felt like quitting, but then I just remember this quote by Alex Hormozy, which I'm sure we're all familiar with. He said, "This is what hard feels like, and this is where people, most of the people quit." So if you're getting to this point and you're
mhm,
not quitting, you're winning. Um, that's something that just kept me going, and a good a good friend circle as well. But
mhm.
yeah, that's basically what I've been.
Yeah, I think the environment is something which is super important. Yes. Yes, I fully agree with you, and I love what you said in the beginning, because that has been a very big point for me in my personal path as well. Is that in the beginning we were kind of pushed to do certain things because we were deemed they were deemed to be the right fit for us, right? They were deemed to be the right business to get into, the right path to follow, because it maybe entangled the money game into it, and it promised you a lot, right? But if you're young and you just want to make or to build yourself a career, to build yourself a business, you follow the money first. And I think that has been my biggest learning lesson along the way over the last 7 8 years, is that every single time I wanted to follow the money led me into a place where I didn't feel like I am myself anymore. Every single time I wanted to follow the opinions of other people, that they were trying to tell me what I should do and why I should do this, every single time I followed their opinion, I found myself in a place a couple of months, years later, where I was dissatisfied, where I felt so off and so not myself at my core. And the funny thing is, I think that change happened actually the end, well, beginning of this year, end of last year, where I truly cut myself off of everything, where I thought, am I in this for me, or am I in this for anything else apart from me? And let it be cryptocurrencies, let it be e-commerce, let it be like so many different things, where I always said like, okay, guys said, dude, if you follow this path, this will bring you XYZ. And I thought, well, maybe I want XYZ, right? Maybe I want this. Maybe I want the chill life without like having to work really hard for it. And I understood beginning of this year too that, hey, actually, what if I just cut everything out? What if I just take a little bit of time for me? Maybe what if I take like my Bali time, but just like here in Luxembourg for myself and just asking myself the right questions of what do I want from life? What am I
Mm-hmm.
good at that I can provide value in? Like, in which way can I provide value to the world where maybe other people can benefit from it and I can still feel myself? And this brought me then finally to the realization that literally there is nothing in the world that people can offer to you that would give you the sense of fulfillment apart from the sole thing that you could be doing that, like, comes from the heart, that comes from the soul, that gives you this feeling of resonance whenever you approach it, whenever you do it, right? So, and I have the feeling now with this podcast. I have the feeling now with like the one or two other projects that I'm doing aside that are like sprung from myself, that sprung from my core. So I fully agree with you, and I think it's a really, really beautiful, beautiful path that you just described, because it does take time and it does take like some struggles, right? It does take
Mm.
quite a process to build yourself. Um,
It
how would you
takes, I
say,
would
like,
say, I would add to, oh,
sorry, continue,
we're,
please.
yeah, we're a bit delayed because I live in the future, I think. And I
Mm,
would also like to add to that point, it takes a lot of ripping yourself apart in the sense of your identity, because who you are right now, it's not the person that's gonna fulfill what you're trying to do. So for me, it's like a massive identity shift in all areas. As a woman, as a friend, as a daughter, as a sister, um, as a granddaughter, as a business owner. Like it takes that identity for you, which at the beginning it's not clear. But there's a quote in the Bible where it says like, God doesn't open paths to those that cannot walk through it. Right? So it's just there for you to grab. You just need to literally break yourself down so you can like build what you're supposed to build, what you're called to build, and just build their identity as you go, but knowing that the path is for you to walk through, and that's you're building
mm.
things your way.
That is such a beautiful saying. I I had on my very first podcast Daniel, and Daniel and I, we go back for quite a while too. He goes back to the actually you met Daniel. Remember my birthday
Yeah,
when we came to
I met him in
Barcelona,
Barcelona
Daniel?
too. Yeah. Just like
Exactly.
when I
You
met
met him
you.
there.
Hmm.
Exactly. And Daniel and I, we have spent a lot of time together this year because he has been my coach throughout like my dark times, and he's a man of God, right? He is a Bible studier, and the verse you
Yeah.
just mentioned, the verse you just mentioned, has literally made the single most impact on me within the last 10 months, because this is exactly what he told me, and it gave me a big realization about myself, where only those who are willing to change from the heart and are willing to like take the risk, who are willing to take a leap of faith into a direction that is unknown to them, doors will open to them. Doors in ways that you couldn't possibly imagine that there would be those type of doors, right? And walking through those doors and accepting that kind of faith, that path into it, leaves you with a lot of confidence, leaves you with a lot of like love and appreciation for everything around you. So I highly resonate with what you're saying in that sense. And so my question to you right now, because I love already that we're getting into the topic of identity, right? The topic of identity is something that I've been dealing with over the last couple of episodes quite a lot, because everyone that gets on here and all of the single episodes that I do focus essentially on this single point. How do you define who you are? How do you find out who you are? And how do you define the process of going from the person you were to the person that was struggling, to the person that is finding its resolve, to the person that you are today? And who do you want to become in the future, right? So throughout this process, what were some things, like some breakthrough moments that you had? Some tips, quotes, tricks, implementation techniques that you learned that made all of the difference for you to decide the path that you wanted to go in?
Yeah. Such a great question. I don't think there is like one thing, but it's like a sequence of things. The first one is you really need to lose who you are in order to find who you truly are. Like, especially my biggest identity shifts have happened when I was in my lowest and my darkest. Like back in May, I did like a $12,000 cash week, and I was just on top of the world. I was like, oh yes, like I love this, you know. But I wasn't feeling like that was true to who I am in my core. Like I wasn't feel like this is like good, you know. So it's a balance act. You lose some, you win some, and then I after that, and after a sequence of things, unfortunate things happening, which now are a blessing in disguise, I just decided to burn my business to the ground. I decided to go, okay, I'm gonna lose all the income and all the things that I built because I need time to just pause and reflect and assess, and then rebuild from there. Like I'm not starting from scratch because I have all the skills. I built a 6-year business, but this is not what I'm supposed to be doing. So for me, something that helps me every single day is self-concept. Who are you? The person that you say, are you the person you say you are every day? Who is Geni when she's at her lowest? Who is Geni when she's at her highest? That should be the exact same person, because principles don't change if you're sticking to your core and your values. So for me, it was like every day is like, okay, like today I'm gonna like stick to a gym routine. I'm gonna stick to a work routine. I'm gonna try and find how can I best serve like my clients, how can I best bring my gifts to the world. And then by just the sequences of also feeling and healing, because healing doesn't happen without going into those deep, dark nights of the soul kind of thing. Moments when I realized like I am made to impact women. Like I come from a single mom. We couldn't even like afford groceries. Like I would just get to the grocery store. I would just like grab some snacks, and she was like, just leave them there. Like we can do that right now. So, and I work with a lot of women that are like single moms or even in their late 20s that they just don't know why they're not growing. I'm like, listen, the person that it's going to take you there, it's not the person you are right now. So self-concept, who are you? What are your core true values? And how does it feel to actually achieve that thing that you truly want to achieve? Because for me, that when I made my first 20K as an in-one mom, I didn't feel any different. I was still feeling miserable because I was like, okay, now I have this money in the bank. I just don't feel anything. I was numb. And that happens when you're just not truly surfing from a place of purpose and from a place of like, this is what I'm supposed to do. So it's been a sequence of every single day being like working on your self-concept. Who's Geni? Like, how does Geni surf? How does Geni build a business? How does Geni run a business? And just come from that place. How does Geni deal with bad situations? How does she celebrate wins? Doesn't matter what wins they are. And that's how you build an unshakable identity, which is obviously gonna transcend. Because another thing that I've noticed, especially now that I'm fully like into helping women make it happen, I've noticed that they just don't buy into transformations, or they just don't buy into coaching. They buy into their identity, which is going to get them the transformation they want. That's what they're buying. They're just buying their new identity. And
That is
obviously, I
beautiful.
help them down that
That is so
to go down
beautiful.
the path. But it's true.
And I'm very sure, I'm 100% certain that you will do this in a beautiful way, because only seeing like the development of how you speak and what you've been going through gives me the reassurance that you will leave a great impact in a lot of women out there, because you walked the path, and you're very good at deconstructing and reconstructing the path for them, right? I think that is something incredible, that I can definitely account to your skills. And like I said, I fully agree with what you're saying. The identity is at the core of who you are. And until you don't know where you are right now, you need to figure out a point A. I think a lot of people fail already at figuring out your point A, where you are right now, because usually they're too much in the past. They're living too much in the future. They're not taking the lessons from both and incorporating it in understanding, who am I right now? Like, who is this Geni? Let's be very honest. Or who is this Tim? Let's be very honest about myself. Like, what are some things that I'm good at? What are some things that I'm not good at? How has my past looked like? I mean, it does take a certain amount of energy and time if you really want to go into your past. And I think your past should be an indicator of who you are today, but it shouldn't dictate who you are today. Because I believe that if you go through a certain period of healing and a certain period of like trauma reflection and trauma resolvence, you can actually learn about, the things, the paradigms, the kind of like program that you have been built with as you were younger, and you just need to understand that it's there. Because the moment you are aware of it, you have the power to change it. And the moment you have the power to change it, you just have to learn certain implementation techniques to move from, okay, this is the Geni that didn't have any money to, get snacks because there was just not the financial means to. And this has been your identity. This has been who you thought you were, how you thought your upbringing was. And then breaking through or breaking away from this concept does take energy, and it does take certain action steps to move forward. Take self-reflection. It does take your personal concept of who you are and establishing yourself. I mean, for myself, I have been through the same thing, right? I come from a loving family, a single mom. There has been that money aspect, right? There has been that's just a normal standard of living for Luxembourg has been there. But there were other things that I was struggling with, right? There were things that father figure in my life was just never there, and it left me with a lot of unanswered questions in my life. And until I was actually 25, I wasn't able to ask those questions to that person who was supposed to answer them for me. Because everyone else that answered them
Mm.
for me, I was like, well, yeah, okay, that's very vague what you're saying. And I know you're trying to make me feel good about myself, but that's not what I want to hear, right? And actually, only until 3 years ago, when, my coach at that time actually pushed me into, doing the thing that I thought I would never do, confronting that father figure that was never there, and actually asking, being able to speak out questions that I always had inside of myself and that made me who I am. That's not confident, very self-unaware, lacking a lot of self-love, being like an outer shell that always wants to perform to get external validation, but not really has any
I feel
intrinsic
you.
feelings. Yeah, right? And not having any intrinsic feelings to that matter. Not being able to, like, always needing to perform, always needing to prove to the world that you're enough because you have this feeling of inadequacy inside of you. And being able to ask or tell that person into his face. I mean, not a lot of people get the chance to, unfortunately, but I was very fortunate where I was pushed into a decision to confront that father, to confront that figure, right? To go on a walk with him, to actually tell him unfiltered what I felt, how I felt, what I've been going through, what were some really tough times, like how he traumatized me without even being there, right? And only by resolving that, being able to get the answers that you really needed, I grew so much. And I think it was the death of the old me. And it was kind of like the phoenix rising out of the ashes to being able to be a new person and redefine yourself. I think is the biggest virtue that you have in this life. And you can do this every single day. It just takes one really hard decision, and probably being the scariest decision that you ever did in your entire life, because being able to skydive from like 10,000 meters is peanuts in comparison to facing your deepest and wildest trauma,
Yeah,
right? So that's
yeah.
that's just a
And
little rant from my side.
that also manifests. Yeah. And I'm gonna add to what you said, that also manifests in business, because like the amount of women that I get to talk to every single day, that they're afraid to charge for their work, they're afraid to invest in their business, they're afraid to speak up, like evolve in the way they market themselves, in the way they serve their clients, in the way they show up. All of this is due to lack of self-trust in themselves. Doesn't mean that they don't trust me. They do, but I need them to trust themselves. And that's one of the main things I also change within myself and within my business. I only work with self-led clients, which are those clients that they know where they're going, they know what their vision is. They trust themselves to get themselves there, but they need that self-trust, and that only happens, as you said, like when you change your identity, when you do that daily intentional hard work that not a lot of people are willing to do, because it's very, very tough and it's not nice, and you're also confronted with your deepest fears, and they manifest in all areas of life. Business, which is one of the main ones because it's a mirror, right? They manifest in relationships, they manifest in how you deal with all of that stuff. So I feel like that's very, very good. And it's also very true. Like, you have to die to rebirth in the greatest version of yourself. Just like, for example, with business, sometimes you have to burn it to the ground to rebuild bigger and better. And then you're like, oh, well, now sales are happening flawlessly, or they flow more because I flow more, because I'm doing what I was always supposed to do, because I have skills that I can apply within my business and help these people out. And also coming from a place of service, because it's service what we're doing. And I feel like service doesn't happen at a big scale if you don't serve yourself first and take care of those areas that you need to take care of. So that is a big, big, massive point that you made there, and I feel it's so true.
And living in this void of time and space where time is relative, but it's always running. Sometimes it seems to run faster than usual. Sometimes it seems to run like slower than usual. In this void of time and space where everybody wants to make it nowadays. Everybody wants to achieve this place where they're just happy. They have all of their needs met. They have, that financial independence. They have that kind of business that they want to build. They have this grandiose future that they see that is being portrayed through social media, mainly. I think with this task comes like a big responsibility of being able to excuse me, a big responsibility of being able to manage expectations, of being able to manage the kind of level of expectation that people have towards life nowadays. Because it seems very simple when people, like certain people, pop up on social media, right? And all of a sudden they're there. And all of a sudden they're getting all the attention, all the success. And you're just like, wow, okay, so it's really that easy. It's really that simple. I just have to find the thing and then just pop, and then all of a sudden I'm all over the place. I'm making like hundreds of thousands of euros, and then I made it, right? But being able to, because you know where I'm getting with this, right? Being able to calm those people down, because we have been through a similar path right now where we realized that this success that we see on social media is not real. It is not real to the extent where those people have usually been working for 5, 10, 15, 20, sometimes even a Gary V, like for 30 years in the making of, like, nobody saw them. Everybody deemed them as like an idiot for trying this. And all of a sudden, at this one moment, after 25 years, they pop, right? So I think I heard this beautiful quote a couple of days ago where it says, like, the meaning of life is being able to enjoy the process and being able to enjoy every little downfall that you have, because these downfalls are definitely the stories that you will be telling in the future, in the making, like how you became the person that you are today. So I think in being a coach, in being an entrepreneur, working with clients, working with women from all over the world, because I definitely want to get into that a little bit as well. I think it's important to manage the expectations, to say that it's better to take 10 little steps and appreciating, learning, reflecting, introspective working around each step, rather than taking one big one, but not really knowing why and what happened in between, right?
And it's also the part, there's a keyword there, should. I get a lot of, that was also me, I get a lot of like women saying like, I should be there right now. Okay, so first of all, who says you should be there, and where's there? Like, for example, I started working with a business coach. She's been in business shorter than me. Like, she's been in business for 4 years now, or for 3 years now. She's making multiple seven figures. I've been longer in business than her, so I therefore should be there already. No, who says I should be there? Who says some other person should be there? What's a should? It's like, oh, I should do this today. I should work on this today. Like, no, you get to work on this, but it's like removing all the should be and just focus on like, okay, I'm here right now. What's it gonna take for me to get from point A to point B, or from point B to point C? The problem is when your expectations don't match your reality, then you're disappointed because you are in point A and you want to go to point C or point D without getting to point B and C. Because people say you should be there. People say that you should earn multiple seven figures. You should get married in your 20s. You should have children before your 30s. What's a should? Is it your, that's why I say, like, is it your way? You should build a business like this? No. Like, the principles apply, of course. Like, you need to be great at marketing. You need to be great at sales. You need to be great at psychology for sales. But who says that you should be there? Who says you should have a six-figure business right now? Because if you don't have it, it's because you haven't learned the things they need to be there. So there are no shoulds. There's only like, I get to do this, and I know I'll get there because success is inevitable if you quit. But you need to remove the shoulds because that's not serving you.
So Geni, now that I have the opportunity of having you on this interview, I want to benefit from it a little bit, and I think I wanna use some of your time and your knowledge and your experience. Could you lay out, to let it be women or men, because I think we have both types of listeners on here. If you want to address only to women, that's totally fine by me. But could you give them a little bit of your coaching structure of, what are some of the basic steps right now? Like, some people are listening to this and they're wondering, all right, this sounds all good, but where do I start from here? Like, what are some of the basic steps that I should be taking to like discover my point A, to know what my point B looks like, and to know what I can even expect from a point C? Can you give me a little breakdown, some little nuggets that you want to share, that you can share in your ability of, being on here? Good. No, so my question is, I guess you really live in the future, right? Like in Bali right now, you're 8 hours ahead. Maybe the transmission takes a little bit to arrive there. My question was, from you being a coach now for women empowerment, we have, most of the time, we have both listeners here, men and women. In your capacity as a coach, what would be some of the starting blocks that you could tell people right now, where they can, how they can actually start to understand where they're at, know where they want to go, and in the process enjoy, becoming or building this identity for themselves? What would you tell to people right now how to start?
Yeah. I would just answer you. I'm gonna answer you with a question. I always ask them this: is the person you are right now supporting where you're going? Because we always attain a certain level of growth as an income months to feel like the technical stuff. Yes, of course, you need to have the right system in place to experience that growth. But is the person that you are today able to hold the growth that you want in your business? Because if you're not there, it means that, and you might have all the skills, because I've been there. So I'm talking from experience here. You might have all the skills. You might, there's people that know way less than us, making way more than us. Why is that? It's because they're smarter than us, because they're better than us. It's scenarios, yes, but it's because they can hold that level of growth and success within themselves. Like, I wouldn't be able, or I wouldn't be able to, for example, hold 100K months just yet, because I'm not that person that has that wealth capacity just yet. So for a lot of, and this was for women and men, doesn't matter. But for a lot of us, it's like, who am I today what am I doing to get me to that point? Because a lot of people, they see hiring help or getting a coach as a 911 call to save their business or to get to next level. What's the secret sauce? What's the key? There's just no key. There's no secret sauce. They've just been either doing what you're doing for longer, or they have hold themselves to a higher standard that you hold yourself to. And that's really harsh to hear, that you're just not that person that will, get the success that you want. But that means that you need to work on it every single day. Like, am I doing the actions that will take it? Am I already behaving like a multi 7-figure CEO? Am I the CEO of my life? I am making decisions that will get me towards what I want in life, so everything gets for greater good. Am I being that person? Because it's just not one area of life, it's not just business, everything. And also it's this thing like, am I able to trust myself to get the success I want? Because a lot of people, when they ask for help, when they try to hire a coach, anything, they just don't trust themselves. So they can get the best coach, but they won't get results if they don't trust themselves and what they're doing. So that is a big thing. That's what I would say. That's an advice I would give.
That is beautiful. The understanding about the person who you are today, and understanding that the person that wants to achieve a certain goal needs to be a certain way, and trying to establish where you are in this process of becoming this person. I think that's a very good approach. That's a very, very nice approach. What would you think? What would you say are some aspects that people need to start doing? Because I'm a big proponent of the 4 areas of life. The 4 areas of life that help maintain and help promote the growth to the goal where you want to go, right? For me, my 4 areas are definitely my physical, which is like the first layer I take care of on a daily basis. Because if I feel good, physically speaking, if I move my body, if I get energy to move, emotion starts usually to stabilize for me, right? If I don't move and I have days where I don't do exercise, my emotions are like all over the place. Like, it's energy stuck somewhere in my body that is not in motion due to exercise. So that's my first layer. So exercise is something that I practice on a daily basis. I work out every single day to just stay in shape, feel good, and I supplement usually like the top of the notch supplementations to stay healthy. My second layer then is my mental. Because your mental can't function properly if your physical is not good. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to go with the audio right now for the moment and see if it's going to get better again in a second. So my second layer is actually my mental. Because if my physical is in a good state, my mental usually works with it, right? It's all about the balance that you have between your mind and your body. Then so what do I do to train my mental? Is I read and I try to educate myself every single day. I think that is like a super important thing that we all have in common. We need to learn what kind of skills we need in the process of becoming that person. So then step number 3, or my third layer, is then usually my emotional side. Like, how am I feeling today? How are my emotions? Because usually emotions are a great indicator for things that are unresolved, things that are stuck, and things that need attention. Because if you don't feel good about a certain topic and you feel like there is something in the process of me trying to like work towards a goal where I don't feel good, I feel that there is some level of resistance, there's some level of unresolved things, my body usually responds, right? So even if your mind and your body is healthy, if your emotional state is not where you want it to be, that's usually where you need to put some attention, because then the rest will follow along, right? And my fourth layer is then my spiritual self. Like, how is my connection to myself? Am I worshiping my soul? Am I working on developing, on experiencing as many things as I can possibly experience in this realm of the physical that we are here to experience? We are literally spiritual beings living a physical existence. So how is my connection to myself? How is my connection to God? How is my connection to the entire universe, the nature around me? Am I respecting the nature around me? Am I respecting the people who are close to me? Am I like respecting my connection with God? And only if all of those four layers are working together, I feel like I'm truly on my path. I feel like I'm truly living my purpose, not figuring it out, but living my purpose of just taking everything in this time, this game, this reality has to offer, and then implement it, right? So I don't know how you feel about this, if you have a similar way of looking at your life, but how would you describe it for yourself? Like, what are some areas of your life that you do,
Yeah.
or what are some like habits, daily methods? What are some areas that you focus on the most?
Yeah. I mean, everything you've said, like, I agree with. It's not just one area, it's everything. But for me, it's two key things that I attribute my success, or whatever success means in life, and now also have the courage to, bring my business around, rebuild it again without fear. First one is learning how to say no, which sounds very easy, but it's not. Learning how to say no to people pleasing, no to, if like you have boundaries. If someone is stepping over those boundaries, just say no. And it doesn't matter if it's a family member, if it's a friend, if it's your partner, if it's a client. Learn to say no. But also learning to say no means saying yes, because we cannot, like, I'm gonna tell this quick story. I was holding on last year. I was holding on for dear life to this client that was paying me money every single month. The contract was around 40K or so for the year, so it wasn't really good. And I enjoyed working with them so much. They were having good results. But I had a session with a mindset coach back then, a life coach, and she was like, Jenny, the next level of growth is on the other side of letting this client go. So I was very, very upset, because, like, what do you mean? This is like the only big client I have. Like, that would mean like losing 80% of my income. I cannot let this client go. And she's like, you were trying. She was also very God faith driven, right? So she was like, you were trying to open a door with a key that's not yours. So if you can keep try opening that door, it's just not gonna open. So I was like, okay. So 3 weeks later, I lost that client, because they I just let the client go. And it was really, really scary. It was really scary, my business, because I also, two of my other clients, like, they just stopped working with me because they were just, shifting their stuff in their business, and that was fine. So then I went from, I know, 40K income at the time to nothing. I was like, okay, I feel like that's one of those moments where my mindset coach was like referring to. So then, by that time, I was saying no to everything that was just not serving me for a greater good, and that was not making me a better businesswoman, have a better business. And then in 10 days, I signed a 20,000 plan, and they just paid in full. So I went from holding on to that to saying no to that, losing that, to closing a 20,000 client, and it took 7 days for them to say yes, and then them sending the money. And I was like, hold on a second. So if I say no more to things that don't serve me, I just open finally the door to all the abundance, to everything, right? So now I get people wanting to work with me. I'm like, I'm sorry, but I don't think this is going to be a great fit. Or, for example, when a family member wants to talk with me and I just don't have the bandwidth, like, I'm sorry, I just can't. I won't be able to serve you right now. So saying no has brought me here. And another thing, a big thing, which comes down to which is linked to your identity, is to genuinely sit with yourself and ask yourself, like, if you want to make 7 figures, I just sit with myself. I'm like, do you deserve making 50K a month now? Like right now with the person you are? And I got very like honest with myself, and I was like, no, you don't deserve that. That's why you don't have it. Do you deserve to have a 7-figure business in a year, 2 years from now? Well, right now I'm not that person, so I don't deserve it. So that is a very big thing. Like, do I deserve to have the thing I really want to have? No, because I'm still not that person. Do I deserve to have 30K months? Yes, of course. I am that person, and I say this with like my head in my heart. But the thing is, and it's like a big thing when it comes to life and business, and also relationships, like every single aspect of life, just also with your dream body, everything. Do I deserve to have the dream body I want? Right now, no, because you're not a person. Do I deserve to have the success I want or the relationship I want? Right now, no, because I'm not a person. And it's the skill and ability and courage to just sit with yourself, ask yourself these questions, and be honest with yourself. Then it truly hurts you. And then you realize, like, a lot of things that you have, you need to become better to get to the next level of growth, because you won't have them until you become that version of yourself. So that would be 2 of the main things that got me to where I am now. Because now I can tell you, like, I have the dream relationship I've always wanted. Do I deserve it? Yes, I do. Do I deserve to be in Bali? Yes, I do. I work so hard for this. Do I deserve to have the business I have? Yes. Do I deserve to have the friendships I have? Oh, yes, because I work every single day on it. But the next level of growth, I don't deserve it yet because I'm not that person yet. Therefore, I'm not doing the actions that person would do yet. That's why, I'm in this position now, which is a blessing. And God will never give you what you want. He will give you what you need. So you realize, and you ask yourself these questions, and they're like, okay, yeah, time to work on those things.
100%. And the ways in which God works are usually like they're so mysterious, but they're so great. I always run by that quote where this pastor says that, God never gives you, like you just said, God never gives you what you want. God usually gives you the opposite of what you want to make you understand and appreciate the experience of what it takes to get what you want, right? So, for example, if you want success, if that's really what you want, if this is something that you are from your core on, like craving for, God won't give you success right away. God will give you difficulties along the way to turn you into the person that then easily can attract and create success. If you want love,
Yeah.
and if you're looking, like if you ask God for love, God will not give you love right away. God will probably give you a couple of shitty relationships, a couple of shitty partners, a couple of shitty like moments and hardships to deal with, to first of all understand that you don't need love for the sake of love, but you like from other people, but you need love from yourself to yourself, right? And you only learn that throughout the hardships. So, and that's how God works. So I really loved what you said about the ability to say no and the ability to decline things. Because a lot of time, if it doesn't feel right, like you probably knew with that client as well, that
Yeah.
client is not good for me. That client is not the right client for me. Like, I don't really want to keep that client, but I'm so stressed about the income. Like, how am I going to pay my bills? Like, how am I going to find another client like that? Like, there is so much attachment usually to the mundane things that we kind of forget what we're really in it for. And we're not, like, essentially, yes, we need money to have a certain standard of living, but money is usually not the thing that we're in it for. What we're in it for is usually the impact. is usually the value that we can provide, is usually
Mhm.
the love that we can give to other people, the love that we can give to ourselves, the best version of ourselves that we get to craft within the making, to travel around the world and experience different cultures, the ability to have good friendships, to have bad friendships, to discern what is like right and what is wrong. Like these are all of the elements that what we really crave for, but they usually, and I hate to say that, unfortunately, in our in our monetary system, in our capitalist system, these things are seem like trivial because everything society portrays in a certain way is success. You need money, you need independence, you need the Lamborghini, you need the gold chains, you need the bling bling, right? But bling bling and all of that crap won't give you happiness. They give you satisfaction. They give you maybe a short-term dose of dopamine, a short-term dose of adrenaline because all of a sudden you get attention, but they do not give you fulfillment, not at
Yeah,
all. Because
yeah.
yeah,
And just to add what you said about money, like we've all built things because of money. Because at some point, especially when you're getting started, you just the first find you see or the first 2,000 your bank account, you're like, oh my gosh, like I'm into a world. But I've seen it. Like I built a business purely for money when I was getting started, just to burn it around because it was not making me happy. So now I'm building a business that obviously we don't do this for the love of God, right? That we do this
mhm,
because we want to make a living sharing, serving people with our skills and our gifts. But at the same time, we have a vision. That's our purpose. And if you want to build a 6-figure or 7-figure, of course, there's some financial part of it, but it's more of your vision and mission that gets you there. It's a purpose. It's the coming from a place of, I'm not going to sell this many spots in this mastermind, come from a place of how many people, how many women in my case can I impact? Can I help get there? Can I help them get there with my service, with my services? Because for me, every woman that I don't work with, that I don't get to help, is or because they just don't know what I do, or because I just don't sell from who I am, from my core identity and values. It's one more woman that doesn't get to build the life they want, that don't get to experience what they
mm,
want, that don't get to fulfill their purpose. So I just see it like that. I was like, it is my duty to make sure that these women get there. And that's how
100%.
everything changed. And that's when money flows, because money is just energy. And the more we try to hold on to it, the less we get. And it's not about holding on to it. It's just, how can I make sure that I keep putting my gifts and my skills out there every single day so people know about it and I can help people change their trajectory in life? How can I help them make an impact? Because business is an impact, right? So
Mhm.
just using that for the greater good and using what you've got, work with what you've got so you can get to the place where it's like, yeah, this is what I was envisioning, and I'm so glad and grateful that I got here.
So, what's your message to all of the women out there, and why should they be working with you?
My message to all the women out there, and to also anyone, is to just jump. Jump. You don't need it doesn't matter if there's not like a net at the end. Like not jumping is not progressing. Like if you know that you're meant for more, if you don't build the business that you were told to build, that's not a big one. Build the business that you want to build, and the rest will follow. And also, for me, is not investing into a good support system means not progressing. And there's so much more to life than just like hustle and grind. Even when you're building a business, you don't need to work 12-hour days. You don't need to exhaust yourself to burn out to build something great. You just need to know what your core values are, what's the identity that you want to build that every day, and just self-trust. Because like I am living proof. Like 4 years ago, a year ago, I was just on my apartment floor just crying because I just, let go of this 40K con. Well, like I turned the tables and I rebuilt 3 times. So it's all about having that courage and that self-trust that you will get there if you're willing to be honest with yourself and do the right things and do that consistently.
That's beautiful. That is so beautiful, Jenny. And I am so proud of the person that you have become. And I think you can be really proud of yourself as well.
Oh, thanks.
You can be really proud of yourself as well, of the person that you have become. I mean, I've not been there throughout the entire process, so I obviously don't know everything that you have gone through, but like going back to the conversations that we had back in Barcelona like a couple of years ago and looking at the person you are today, there is worlds in between. So I am so happy for you and I'm so proud of you because you are definitely working your own magic. You are discovering your own path and you're discovering your own song, your own tune, and just working on it. Wow, I think a lot of women out there will be so happy working together with you and discovering their own tune, their own Jenniness, right? And I think every woman out there should discover their own Jenniness because like Jenny is Jenny is definitely doing an incredible job at this. I think we are, I mean, you mentioned in the beginning that you have around 1 hour, so I think we are slowly should come to an end right now. Jenny, I have, well, first of all, share with the audience where they can find you, how they can get into contact with you, and what's the kind of not recommendations but requirements of working together with you.
Mhm. So you can find me on Instagram, Jenny. I don't know if you might link it somewhere. Geni
I
Cor,
will
the
link it.
two,
I will link it.
yeah, Geni Cor. They can get in contact with me there. And actually, I'm launching a 90-day mastermind called Women of Impact, where I just have them get to consistent 10,000 months through, my magic, my secret sauce.
Hmm.
And for
Your
me, the
Jenniness.
women that are, yeah, for me, the women that I work with, as I said before, are self-led. They trust themselves. They trust that they can get there. They're not afraid of investing in themselves and in the growth of their business. And if they are, they do it anyway. They have skills and gifts in the way that they serve their clients and the world. And they're all about growing their income, growing their business, growing their impact. So if they are eager for that, then they can work with me. I can work with them. I'm all about helping women win. So
That's cool, and I hope people will do that as well. I will definitely link up anything, like how to get into contact with you. I mean, if even if you have like a business mail, how they can reach out to you, because I think a lot of women, you should go out there and you should work with Jenny because she is an incredible human being, right? um, okay, Jenny, last question. A question that I ask every participant as kind of like the final thing before we let it off. Um, okay, Jenny. What is one piece of advice that you wished you knew earlier that you can give to your younger self right now, and hopefully other people out there can benefit from as well, that you wish you knew earlier, and that is kind of like made all of the impact for you?
more of a, I would say, a quote or a phrase. You got this. Doesn't matter how many struggles, obstacles, darkest nights of the soul you go through. Doesn't matter how many heartbreaks, doesn't matter how many business failures you go through. You've got this. You've always got it. And you're gonna be fine no matter what because you're always fine. And you can do this. Because otherwise you wouldn't be put in this path if you wouldn't be able to do it. And just trust yourself.
I love it. 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 Wow, Jenny, this was such a fun 1 hour talk with you. Um, I hope we can do this in the future again because I love to run. I mean, we haven't even scratched surface on the person that you are today. So I would love to continue this on a later basis, have a couple of talks along the way. And I just wish you a lot of success along your journey and a lot of fun in Bali because I guess you're going to be working now a little bit. I hope you're going to be working a little bit right now, and after then, you're going to
I can
enjoy
hear
a
you.
little bit of the Bali world. So, with this being said, thank you for coming on, Jenny. I wish you a beautiful rest of your day, and take care. And to all of you listening out there, see you in the next one.